Hello, my name is Joy Cabador, and along with my colleagues Tia Hu and Matthew Mendoza, we are part of the Lab of Adaptive Athletics here at the University of Houston under Dr. Michael Cottingham. Today, we will be presenting our study on how COVID-19 has affected the physical and mental state of Paralympians. As we transition into the content, we have to understand the barriers these athletes face. Some of these barriers include lack of sport-specific resources. In Kearney and her colleagues' 2019, it is found that people with disabilities are one of the largest minority groups worldwide. This group is underexplored, resulting in underrepresentation, leaving a lot of room for growth and resources specific to these athletes. Another barrier is the cost of participation. According to Cottingham's 2017, disability sport participation is often self-funded. Equipment, tournament fees, and travel costs begin to add up, and it's a bigger burden for a group of athletes that already lack sponsorship and promotion. Lastly, transportation. Rimmer 2010 noted that transportation was a challenging factor because many of these athletes aren't able to drive, and public transportation isn't always accessible or readily available in certain areas. Continuing on, motivation, knowledge of how to participate, and accessibility are other barriers for these athletes. Paralympic athletes were known to have high athletic identity, so their athletic identity will be directly impacted. Clearly, COVID has been a serious disruptor in the lives of these athletes, but we must further understand the athletic identity in the lives of elite athletes and subsequently elite athletes with disabilities. According to Groff and Zabraki, 2006, it is found that there's an equal amount of AI in comparison to athletes and athletes with disabilities. With that, according to Taziemski and colleagues, 2004, the intensity of AI is even more heightened in elite athletes. The positives of living an active athletic lifestyle shows more commitment to performing better as an elite athlete, according to Horton and Mack, 2000. With this, the emotional and mental effects of not being able to compete can lead to distress due to the hyper-focus of winning and competing, that other parts of the athlete's lives seem to be less important or even neglected.
Tying this back to COVID-19, we really wanted to understand sports disruptions and what they really mean for athletes physically and mentally. And so the closest analog we found to the pandemic were the sports disruptions of injury, retirement, and parenthood. Physically, these three events often do lead to a partial or complete stopping of sports participation. As for mental health, retirement and injury have shown to leave the athletes feeling lost and without direction. And this is described by Kerr and Dakishin as nowhere land, where athletes feel symptoms of anxiety, depression, and lack of motivation. Motherhood, on the other hand, has shown opposite effects, where athletes feel self-enlightened. And this is because they develop a new identity as a mother athlete, which ultimately decreases their pressure from their sport. As for Paralympians, sports disruptions have shown similar negative effects on sports participation and mental health. And so now I'd like to give you a little bit more of a background as to what the Paralympics are and what they mean for Paralympians. So the Paralympics are the premier stage for elite disability sport and are one of the largest international sporting events, with over 140 countries represented and 28 sports hosted. And these sports range from goalball to powerlifting to adaptive basketball. It is also important to note that the Paralympics are a primary source of income for many Paralympians, and this is just due to the fact that disability sport is given less attention and less awareness, and therefore is less funded, as opposed to elite able-bodied sport. With these factors in mind, athletes often develop a strong athletic identity and exclusive focus on winning, as seen by Taziemski. And this focus results in some common and unique effects for Paralympians from sport, such as sport overuse, psychological stressors, and other health hazards. So speaking a little bit more about the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics, they were on track to be one of the greatest Paralympic Games ever hosted, with record-breaking ticket sales, athlete competitors, and media coverage, but were unfortunately postponed. That being said, the purpose of our study is to investigate COVID-19's mental and physical impacts on Paralympic athletes' lives.
Moving on to methods. We interviewed 29 Paralympians and Paralympic hopefuls who were qualified or attempting to qualify for the 2020 Tokyo Paralympics. 11 sports were represented, some are listed, along with powerlifting, canoeing, and swimming. Each researcher engaged in bracketing in order to address issues of reliability. Also, practice interviews demonstrated how to engage with athletes with disabilities. There were 12 questions that were categorized into background, COVID-specific, and reflection-based questions. 5 interviewers in total conducted these interviews through virtual video call. These interviews took place in July to August 2020, which was during the time the Paralympics were supposed to take place. We conducted a thematic analysis and a constant comparative method. Each interview was analyzed by 2 scholars.
After the initial analysis, 3 primary themes were identified. The first theme is less structured training and more adjustment. The second theme is change of lifestyle, and the last one is challenged mental health. The first theme we're focusing on here is about how COVID impacted Paralympians training. With travel bans, tournament cancellation, and facility shutdown, the athletes experienced limited facility access, no competition at all, reduced intensity, and less structured training and preparation. For athletes who spent the last 4 years working up to this point and supposed to increase their training and just so that they can peak at the right moment, and then it came to a halt, as our participant Lily described. However, with the 1-year postponement, Paralympians were still prioritizing the game with innovating physical training and increasing mental training in a self and team support environment. Brady said, "Everything I do is centered around Tokyo." With the desire to compete and win, athletes like Mark were surprised and proud of what they have accommodated to keep the training going. We finally supported the finding from Powell and Mayer's study in 2017 that being exposed to demanding situations and a supportive environment could help Paralympians develop coping strategies. Besides training, Paralympians' lifestyle had been impacted on different levels as our second theme emerged. In health regime, athletes were responsible about health practice and focused more on healthy behavior, as Sandra stated. With almost no change or even improvement in nutrition and sleep. This is consistent with what Martin found about athletes with strong athletic identity are more likely to live an athletic lifestyle. In their daily activities, COVID impact their routine varied. Some of them are increased their downtime, while others are doing alternative activities. However, like Natalie, they emphasize a lot on how they used to have a busy traveling and schedule lifestyle versus losing that part entirely and missing and feeling stuck. Moreover, they reported missing the missing part of social interaction and communication, but was able to partially accommodate it through regular virtual meetings and other communication tools. It is worth to note, COVID had a negative impact on athletes' life consideration and career plan due to the timeline interruption we feel in their lifestyle changes. As Ali explained, so the extra year kind of is just the throw off any plan that we had. Moving to the next theme, we focus on the shared significant challenges in Paralympians' mental health. They anonymously experienced uncertainty, depression, lack of motivation, and other negative feelings such as stress and frustration. One of the participants stated, "With the uncertainty of the game, her purpose, her goal, and her dream were up in the air as well. However, she also showed her determination to moving forward instead of letting the uncertainty taking over." This represents most of the other athletes. The athletes who were developing positive mindset, appreciation, and new focus to cope with their mental health challenges. As Stephanie said, I think what's so cool about the Paralympics is us, Paralympians. Like we're so adaptable to our bodies, like not being the most reliable in times, but we're like, okay, another year. If that's what the world need, we will do it. Looking into the literature, Brewer and other researchers point out having a strong athletic identity and yet unable to compete will lead to negative psychological outcomes. However, Maddie and Javi found out hardness could provide Paralympians with determination, motivation, and strategies for turning the stressed situation into regular growth opportunities.
So because this is the Applied Sports Management Conference, a lot of those listening may be interested in the applications of our study. Our recommendations are really directed towards the national governing bodies, or NGBs for short. Given our result, we found that COVID-19 has given way to some additional barriers and feel it is necessary for these NGBs to deal with these issues more holistically, considering not just the physical challenges, but the mental challenges as well. That being said, NGBs should provide minimal equipment packages to accommodate for the reduced training athletes are experiencing. These packages could include exercise equipment such as dumbbells, exercise bands, and some at-home workout programs. In addition, NGB should provide athletes with more individualized and situation-specific psychological resources to account for the suffering mental health athletes are facing. Lastly, we feel the funding that is used for travel and competition in a regular season should be reallocated for these implications. Transitioning to future research, future researchers should investigate how other sports disruptions affect Paralympians physically and mentally. This could bring light to other challenges that Paralympians face that are unique from able-bodied elite athletes. Future researchers should also investigate the long-term effects the pandemic had on Paralympians, maybe looking at retirement after COVID and how NGBs accommodated for these athletes' struggles after the pandemic. So here we are, my favorite slide. I would like to talk to you a little bit more about the Adaptive Athletics Lab and what we offer. For students, we offer opportunities to run programs and hold leadership, and in return, they receive academic credit for their hard work. We also provide opportunities to get involved in our research lab and are always looking for graduate, doctoral, master's students, as well as undergraduate students who are looking to come work with us. If you're a faculty member at another institution who would like to collect data at our national and international events, you are always welcome to. And if you'd like to collaborate on a research topic, we would love to discuss, and as we do have connections to multiple disability organizations nationwide and worldwide. So if you'd like to engage in doing some research with our program, please contact Dr. Michael Cottingham. Thank you for your time, and thank you for letting us present our study.